Right, hello everyone. On today's video, this is not the video I wanted to make, to be honest with you. But it's going to be a video basically on discussing some of the issues around Train Sim World and kind of a response to a YouTuber that is as of recently put a video out. And you know, I want to iterate, this is not a dig at them. You know, they're there to do content, that kind of thing. And I do content every here and there, so I can't exactly say, I'm the perfect YouTuber and all that. But it's more just I want to respond to some of the things that he has said about Train Sim World and DTG. The first thing I will say is, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I'm just going to dive straight into it, like I normally would. But yeah, so the first thing he said about was that there was a lot of texture issues on console, and obviously you're not wrong. There is texture issues on console, and I would know because I am an ex-console player. I came from the Xbox side, and the main issue for me on console, especially Xbox, was the clipping sound. I understand that PlayStation doesn't have that, and DTG did comment on that before, saying that apparently the clipping sound is the encoder or something. Don't quote me on that. That is the encoder for the Xbox and the way the audio works on Xbox compared to PlayStation. But yeah, the clipping sound of engines is really annoying. And if you don't know what that is, go and watch an Xbox, someone on Xbox record their gameplay, and I guarantee you're more likely hear it at one point during the video, because it's on every route pretty much. But yeah, so go and listen to that. Yeah, so that's obviously one big issue. However, that's, as DTG said, that's not an easy fix. Because the builds of the games for Xbox and PlayStation are kind of built, well, they are the same framework, as they have similar specs. Okay, fine, they are independent, obviously that's why they can fix issues on PlayStation and not on Xbox, but the encoder issue is an issue with how the Xbox handles audio and how DTG has created it, and they're both different. So
welcome aboard this Great Western Railway
service. It's not an easy fix, long story short. I'm no developer, so I'm not always being 100% on that, but from what I've heard from DTG, that is what the issue is. Texture issues. So the guy in the video, I won't disclose who the guy is, by the way. You'll more than likely know who he is if you watch any amount of Train Sim World content. Most I will say most of his videos, from what I can see, I've got nothing against the guy. Like I said, compared to him, I'm a small YouTuber, but I don't even do YouTube for a living, so at the end of the day, this is just the way to look at this video. Is I'm as much of a community member as what everyone else is, and I'm probably closer to you guys than what he is. Obviously, I don't earn money off of the game or anything, so I don't have to be careful with what I can say and whatnot. But yeah, he basically creates videos just bashing the game constantly, from what I can see from his titles and all that. And he marks it up as constructive criticism. But constructive criticism only goes so far. You know, there's so much constructive criticism that you can put out there, and then all of a sudden it's just turned into a bashing fest rather than constructive criticism, like he likes to call it. So yeah, I think personally, if he's watching this and he knows who he is, I think you just need to stop being so negative, for one. I get you're trying to help the community voice an opinion. I get that. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up people's bottoms and stuff like that, saying, you know, the game is perfect, leave it alone, because it's not. And you will see that throughout the video. You'll see the like little micro stutters. That is just the game. But yeah. So I think you just need to be less negative. But also on top of that, make videos on the routes and review the routes. Give people an honest opinion on what you think. I know you have done route reviews, but once again, your route reviews turn into a bashing fest. So, you know, if you want to make a career out of it and make people enjoy your content, don't turn it into a bash fest. Just review the route as it is. If you experience an issue, call it out. But there's no need to be like, oh, DTG really need to fix this, blah blah blah. Because then it just turns, you know, toxic. And if you want the game to improve, just constantly bashing on a dev is not gonna, you know, isn't gonna help. And I don't even think the YouTuber that I'm on about is even like, doesn't even get sent content by DTG. Which you can understand why, because he doesn't review it, he just bashes on it. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, he could never sit down and do a review and not bash them, so you can see why they don't send him content. And I'm not saying this just so he can get free content, but I think his content should change to, you know, it should change to just being a more positive kind of content, rather than the next title being, oh, the game is broken. You know, the game's not going to last. That kind of you know, these kind of titles, it's just unfair. Like I said, the game has issues. I understand that. That does need to be fixed, especially game breaking ones. But in one of the videos I watched, you know, he was going on about how you know, there's issues with textures, and we all know consoles are basically the cheapest way into gaming, and that's what they're made to be. That's what they've always been. And when it comes to simulator games like Train Sim, like Truck Sims, and so on and so on, you know, consoles do start to struggle because they are simulation games. You know, they're meant to be as realistic as possible, which obviously that opens a can of worms, saying TSW is not all that realistic, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. But you know, they're long story short, meant to be as realistic as they can. And one good comparison for this is, you look at all the truck simulators that have ever been released on console, right? And all the games that have been released, all the truck sims, they've not been realistic. They haven't been. Truck Driver, that was one game. That game absolutely flopped because it was not what people was expecting. It was off to a good start. It had branded vehicles, which people was looking for. It had a lot more interaction. You could get out your truck, do stuff with it, do stuff like manually refill your truck, that kind of thing. But the game flopped, and you know why? because of performance issues. The mirrors was loading things in really badly. The AI kind of just wasn't doing what it was meant to do. That wasn't so much a performance issue, that was just on the developer side. And then you have you had issues with textures and that kind of thing. So that's one, truck driver. The other, on the road. On the road, that wasn't so much plagued with bugs as of such. It was more, it wasn't branded, like it didn't have branded vehicles, that kind of thing, so people wasn't as interested in that. But I believe it may have had some bugs as well. But, a reoccurring theme is always bugs, you know what I mean? And it's not just bugs, it's performance issues predominantly as well, and it's the same with Train Sim World. Of course, we have performance issues on console, texture issues, stuttering issues, sound issues, lack of layers, but obviously that's due to DTG dialing it down so it's more acceptable for console players to play. But yeah, the list goes on, and half the issue is console. And I don't like to say that as being an Xbox player, but the issue is console. It needs to... DTG have a few things they can do about it, and that is they stagger the releases of Train Sim World, and every other year, so when they release a new game every other year, rather than every year, like they currently are, they release one every other year, and then in the year that they don't release a game, they release a mass patch fixing stuff. That could be a thing that they could do. You know? So they could do that. The other option, which I really don't like, and I know a lot of you aren't going to like it, is they pull the game from console and make it a PC exclusive like it used to be back in the original CSX, I think it was CSX Heavy Haul, I believe, with Sherman Hill. They go back to being like that. They're really the two main issues, or the two main resolutions, in my opinion. I mean, you take it, Train Sim Classic. If you've never played Train Sim Classic and you've never seen it, you'll know that's got issues. And the way DTG fix that is they normally release an update every year. When they release a new game with an update on fixing issues. And I kind of feel that's what they need to do with Train Sim World. They can do it with Train Sim Classic, they can do it with this. But as for texture issues, that's not going to be an easy fix, obviously. That's something that's going to take months worth of dedication from the dev team to fix, because they will have to manually go through routes, and the only other thing they could do is reduce textures, so textures aren't as high quality, and just reduce the amount of scenery and that kind of stuff. And obviously we've already had the timetables reduced, but it might have to be reduced again if these texture issues keep persisting. So it's one of these things that there's ways they can do it, but whatever they do, people aren't going to like. So really, in that kind of retrospect, if you think about it, consoles, and I don't mean this in a way to offend console players, as I was one, but consoles are even lucky to have the game in the state it's in, because I'm playing this on, you know, a £3,000, £4,000 PC, and it runs fine for me. But obviously, that's on an expensive PC, not on a console. But I believe, from what I can tell, is PC generally has a lot better version than what consoles have. And I know there's not a lot of difference between them, but PCs are inherently more... They get along with games a lot better, because there's not as tight limitations on them. And you gotta think, like, Xbox consoles have 16 gigs of RAM. You know, equivalent in CPU wise, they have, I think they have like high-end, I think it's the standard version of an i7 or a Ryzen 7, depending on the console you're on.
This is a Great Western Railway service to Paynton. Torquay and
But yeah, you know, consoles are made to be built cheaply so they can be sold cheaply. But in this day and age, if you've ever looked at console prices in the past year or two, you realise that console prices are now up £600-700. You can build a decent PC. My first PC that I used to record the game on, you can go back and have a look at that gameplay as well. I used to record the game on a £900 PC. And I'm going to hop outside a sec because that's really loud. But yeah, by no means did it run it perfectly, but it didn't run it bad, and that was with good textures while also recording. If I would have just switched out my processor on my other PC, I would have had complete smooth gameplay. I mean, I had if you're a PC spec, if you're a PC nerd, you probably know these specs, but I had a RTX 2060, which, if you'd know, it was a good graphics card for its time. Obviously it's dated by now standards, but it played the game just fine. I also had a i5 9400, I think it was. I think the i5s are 400s. 400F, sorry. So yeah, I had that. That was my biggest limiting factor. I had 16 gigs of RAM, which, you know, was reasonable amount. But on a PC, I would say you need about 32 to run your Discord applications, that kind of stuff, just so you can talk to people. And I just had a 128GB SSD for my Windows and a 1TB hard drive for my game. So, sorry, I think I said 1TB. Yeah, 1TB hard drive for my game. So by no means was it a beefy computer, but it ran the game fine, and that cost me £900. The only thing I did have to change out on it, because I bought it from I bought it on Amazon, but I bought it from Cyberpower. Is it Cyberpower? There's Cyberpower and there's another one. I can't remember the other one, but it was Cyberpower I bought mine from, and it was a good PC, but the reason they made it so cheap was because it had a cheap power supply in it, and that's the only thing I had to get switched out, was the power supply. So I switched power supply out, and then from then on it lasted me 2 to 3 years, and it would still be going now if I didn't switch parts out into this computer for it.
We are now approaching Timber.
Well, what was this computer before it got fully upgraded again? But yeah, like a £900 PC will do just fine. Considering a console's 700, it doesn't hurt to save up a little bit and just extend your budget to at least 900, maybe 1,000, and then you can have a PC that's going to last you at least a good, 4 or 5 years. If you get a decent graphics card and decent CPU. PC gaming is a lot more affordable now, and I think if you're serious about Train Sim World, then that's what you should play it on. I don't believe you should play it on console because of the amount of issues it has.
This is a Great Western Railway service to Paignton.
But yeah, that's just what I think. Like I said, don't mean anything against console players. Like, there is a place in the world for them, and I just think if you're serious about simulation games, just your way is PC. I don't think you should be wasting your time with don't believe you should be wasting your time with console when it comes to simulators. Okay, we got ETS2 releasing on console now, an American truck.
Welcome aboard this Great Western.
That's cool, but we don't know what state that's going to release in. You know what I mean? And I've played ETS on PC, obviously, and ATS, and I know it's a great, it's a great game, and FCS do great at fixing issues. They really do. But we don't know what it's going to be like when it gets onto a console. That's the only worrying bit. Because we've had these truck simulators in the past that have been on console, had issues, they've got removed, or the developers closed down because they went bankrupt. So I'm just saying, we're lucky to have Train Sim in the state that it's in now on console, and that they just haven't pulled it sooner. So I think we just need to, take what we have and count ourselves lucky. Obviously it has issues, yes, which game-breaking issues, which DTG do need to fix. But as for textures, I can't see them fixing those anywhere, anytime soon. So as for that, you may as well just count that out. And if they really are bugging you that much, I would just recommend just jump into a computer. And before anyone even says, oh, but I like sitting in my sofa, playing the game, that kind of thing, you still can with a PC. So it's no different to a console. As long as you've got your power supply plugged in, and you've got your HDMI or your DisplayPort plugged in, you're fine. You can get a wireless mouse, which will help you play on the sofa, and wireless keyboard. You can also put Steam into a controller friendly mode if you prefer playing with a controller. And then you can just scroll through your Steam list like that. Games are also a lot cheaper on PC as well. Also, you don't have to pay for online subscriptions like Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus. And there's other websites you can get games from, like CD Keys, or it's now called Loaded. You can get games on there a lot cheaper. Steam regularly holds sales. And it's just so much availability on PC. I think you guys are doing yourself dishonest if you're enjoying this game, but you're just annoyed by the bugs and held back. If you're serious about Train Sim and Train Sims in general, PC is where you need to be for that, and for it to be nice, and run properly. So yeah, like long story short, I can't see DTG fixing texture issues, and it's not an easy fix unless they completely re-overhaul the sim. Which, let's face it, they aren't going to do. That's more effort than it's worth for DTG. And at the same time, we've got to remember their business. There's realistically only so much they can do. Something like re-overhauling the sim is not going to be possible. By no means. Unless they released a completely separate console version which had completely different routes and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Is, you know, a staggered release and an update in between, or just completely pull it from console. And obviously I'd prefer the staggered release and an update kind of solution rather than pulling it from a console. But hopefully you find that more of a nicer way of how they could go about fixing the issues. Unlike the other YouTuber that I shall not name, just bashing the game, and you know, he doesn't see a good future for the game and blah blah blah. I think if DTG can, you know, stagger the releases, fix the games up in between, and just keep releasing routes, that's all they need to do. We don't need a new game with new features every year. We don't need that. We need a game every year. What we need is an update every year that fixes issues, you know? So, but yeah, that's just what I personally think. You know, obviously I'd love to hear your opinion. And like I said, about the YouTuber, no disrespect to you, you're a bigger channel than I am, and I'm not here to get at you with views or anything like that, but don't just sit there bashing the game constantly. Come up with actual, decent, constructive criticism rather than just saying the game is crap and DTG are going to be out of a community within a year and that kind of stuff. So realistically, that's, you know, that's very unrealistic. DTG will never be out of a community. They'll always have a Train Sim Classic community that will bring in money for them, because Train Sim Classic still does well. And, you know, just, like,
we are now approaching.
This is not a dig at you, but also I know for a fact that you don't get given content by DTG. And the reason being is probably because you always bash on their games. Don't bash on their games. They might actually look at you and say, oh, okay, he's being quite helpful, to be honest. You know, he's being helpful, he's saying about issues, and he's suggesting that, you know, this is how we could do stuff and that kind of stuff, you know, to fix the game, how to improve the game, that kind of stuff, you know. And there's reasons why they don't give content out to certain people, because they just bash on the games. They aren't going to do that. And I'm not doing this just to get content for the game, by the way. I would kindly tell DTG I'm not interested in content, because to be honest with you, if they gave me content, I wouldn't make a video every single time on it, because YouTube is not my career path of choice, to be honest.
This is Newton Abbott.
I like to upload videos when I can to try and help people, like I did with my recent ETS2 how to install Pro Mods video. Please do go and check that out if you want to learn how to install Pro Mods, Rust Map, the Middle East and the Greater Steep. That covers literally everything, so please do go and check that out. It's a very useful guide. if you don't know how to install ProMods, for free. So do go and check that out. But yeah, you know, I just think there's ways of voicing your opinion across rather than just always being so negative about it. And you always create content going on about stuff that we already know about. You know, you always create content saying, oh, you know, there's texture issues, there's lagging issues, it's like, you know, tell us something we don't know, you know. But yeah, so let me know what you do think of this, and let me know your opinions. Like I said, not trying to dig at console players or anything with that, but I think this is the way DTG needs to look at creating content in the future, rather than just constantly releasing every year and expecting people to overlook bugs and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, hopefully this has been of some help to you guys. I appreciate you clicking on the video and watching. Obviously I don't upload regularly, but hopefully you do subscribe, and if you do like what I create, then please do try and support me where I can. I don't have a timetable when I upload, nothing like that. I just kind of, if there's something on my mind, I'll upload it, put a video up. People watch it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. People like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. So, you know, I don't do it to get anything out of it as such. But yeah, it's just, you know, I watched that video and it kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. Like, DTG at the end of the day are a company and people don't see this. Obviously they've got to earn money. You know, they've got to pay the people that work for them. But also they do need to look at bugs. And I think that's inevitable, that they need to look at bugs, because the game will become unplayable if obviously bugs do continue. But yeah. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed this, please do like, comment and subscribe. Please do let me know what you think of this. Once again, apologies to all the console players. I know I've said that a lot. But that's just the way forward in my opinion. And to the YouTuber that I shall not name, if you're watching this, please take this word of advice with, you know, take it as some constructive criticism, and I don't mean that as in a way to get a dig at you. Generally do take that as constructive criticism. Like, I get you're trying to produce content and you're trying to get up there, but just remember, you're also not the biggest train sim content creator out there. You know, so no need to keep bashing on the community, and not the community, but the devs and DTG. The reason why you got people like Tintin, which I will happily name because he's a great content creator. Got people like Tintin that do create lovely content reviewing routes and so on. He does voice opinions, but he doesn't, you know, voice them in a negative way. So yeah, if you want to go and watch anyone, go and watch Tintin. Just be more like those guys. Tintin, what's the other guy called? I used to watch him quite regularly. Oh, I forgot his name. He's another good YouTuber. Trying to find. Oh yeah, you have like people like British Ace as well. He's another great YouTuber. You know, he's another one that just plays the game and enjoys it. Joe Dobson, he often plays the game as well. He's another one to watch. And that's the other one, Megasim. Megasim is a great guy as well. All those content creators, in my opinion, are the ones that you should be watching for your Train Sim World stuff. And the other YouTuber, I please hope that you take the constructive criticism and just improve your content. I always get suggested on my feed of your content, and every time it pops up, it's Train Sim World falling apart. Train Sim World is dead. Stuff like that, and it's just like, create content that's happy, not just negative content all the time. You're creating a community that's just negative, and you know, it doesn't help, and it's not productive to help develop a game. So do consider that, and be more respectful to the people that make the games that you're talking about, you know. Like, but yeah. Anyway, that's it from me, truly this time, guys. So I will catch you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you then.